Hello, everyone. I'm so excited. We've got Kyla here today. And Kyla is an Align CEO. You've been with us for a few years, which is really
Mhm.
exciting.
Mhm.
And for anybody who's just catching Kyla today, whether it's on YouTube or on our podcast or wherever you might find her, you're instantly going to love her. You have such great energy,
Aw.
Kyla. You do such amazing work in this world. And I think before we get into who you are and what you do and how you help people, I would
Mhm.
love to hear what are you grateful for today?
I was waiting for that question.
Mm.
I was waiting. I woke up this morning laying in bed and I thought of you and I was like, what am I grateful for right now? Honestly, I'm incredibly grateful for the home that I have. It's a home that I've wanted for a long time. I know you can really relate to that right now, but I've lived in condos my whole adult life. I grew up in the most beautiful home with land and
Mm,
horses and animals. And then all I wanted, of course, as a young person was to get the heck out of there and get to the city.
mhm,
And I did that. And I've been in a condo literally for like, I don't know, almost 20 years.
mm,
And now I have a three-bedroom house with a massive deck and a big yard and rose bushes and lavenders and peonies and cedar trees and the dogs get to run around and it gets sun and the living room is bright and just all of these spaces. Cam and I, like multiple times a week, maybe even multiple times in a day, will say to each other, like, God, I love this house. I love our home. I love our home. And so I'm really feeling that. I did yoga on the deck this morning and was just like,
mm.
this is my house.
Yes. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that so much. Like sincere gratitude for our environment. And it makes a huge difference to truly love and be grateful for where you live or to not, to feel like it's, maybe a contracting feeling, or you feel like you've outgrown a space, or it's not inspiring you anymore, or whatever it might be. And yeah, you guys have a wicked, wicked home, like your patio, unreal. So I love to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. And I just also what I want to say to that is like for everybody listening, a reminder that like a mortgage or a rental lease is not permanent. If you don't love where you live, you can move. You can
Mhm.
sell, you can leave, you can do whatever you want. You're not a tree. You can literally move. And so when I hear people say like I feel so stuck, it's like, well, you're not, so you can move
Yeah.
and love
And
where you live.
yeah, and I even go off of that even more?
Mhm.
I think about it, like your home is it's your home, it's your base. And if you're not feeling comfortable, happy, safe, content, if home isn't a place that you can come and like, ah,
Mm,
like take off all that extra weight and just be. If that isn't available to you, I trust that then the rest of your life also feels really hard and challenging and maybe scary and maybe unclear. And of course it would, because you don't actually have a place that you can come and leave all of that, right? Take off the heavy backpack, breathe. And and I think about it and I don't know that I ever had that until now.
mm,
I don't think I
mhm,
ever felt like I was home in a place that could really hold me until now.
mm.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah, beautiful reflection on gratitude.
Hmm.
Okay. Speaking of gratitude, you do some awesome work in this world,
Hmm.
and that I know leaves people feeling really grateful for you and what you do. So, why don't you share with everybody who's listening or who will watch this, like, what is the work that you're in? What do you do? Who are
Hmm.
you? Why do you love doing this work?
Okay. I am a somatic breathwork facilitator, an embodiment and empowerment leader for women.
Mm,
And I am obsessed with this work. And it's funny, you and I were talking just even earlier this morning on a call. And yeah, 5 years ago, I was not in this work. I would have stuck my nose up at this work. I was in fitness. I was a personal trainer and teaching yoga. And I had no idea what breathwork was. I had no idea what somatic work was. embodiment work. I had no idea. I would, and I was in the quote unquote self-development world. I was reading every self-help book, every self-development book there was, thinking that I was like really doing this good work on myself. And I definitely was doing great work on myself. I was evolving at a slower rate than I
Mm.
maybe could have been. And then I found breath work and had an incredibly profound experience that shifted my sense of self. It shifted how I looked at myself. It shifted how I looked at my relationship with others. It shifted everything. It was big enough that I left that session and I hired a breath facilitator and I started like a 3-year training in somatics and trauma work and breath work. And I immediately quit my career of 15 years and um, with the intention of sharing even just like a smidge of the clarity and empowerment and steadiness and peace and like fiery, ragey power in me, even just with a couple people. I was like, if just a couple people can feel this, that ripple will probably be big enough.
Mm.
And and that was, yeah, it was 4 years ago. And I say this, I feel like this is home. Like this work feels like home. Funny that we're speaking about home. This work feels like home to me. And to see the ripple. I think sometimes we don't actually even get to see the ripple that we create.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to see it. And I see it in every session, even just a teeny one. Sometimes it's a massive wave, but sometimes it's this teeny ripple where, I had a woman in a session last week where she came out of the session and said, oh my God, I feel like I love myself more. I feel like I love myself more and that it all is actually here. Like I have been seeking someone to love me and it's right here. It was so beautiful and I know that even if she goes back into having a day that feels shitty, she will never unknow that feeling
Right.
and she'll have something to come back to. And she'll
Mm.
come back and she'll come back and she'll come back and she will share that with the people in her life in the way that she chooses to share that.
It's life-changing work.
It is. It's changed my life. Yeah, it really is. Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, there's so many people. I mean, everybody can benefit from breath work, and everybody is technically breathing. Like everybody that's
Hmm.
Earthside is breathing.
Hope so.
Yeah. Who is like your favorite type of person to work with?
Yeah. So I've been reflecting on this because, in all honesty, it's shifted. It ebbs and flows. And I think it ebbs and flows with where I'm at in my personal life too.
Mm.
And just this past weekend, I was reflecting on it and like I really want to help women like reclaim their power is the word that I use, like reclaim your power. And that I think means different things to everyone. And so if I reflect back to where I was right before, because that's who I want to be helping, I was living a life that felt like really okay. It felt fine. It felt like good enough. Like
Mm.
I could have coasted in that for a while, probably a long time. I was ultimately what I was doing is really living my life for other people, but I was appearing really cheery and really happy about it and kind of taking what I could get was kind of the energy of it.
Mm.
I grew up with this story of enough, we have enough. We have enough money. Relationships are good enough. I have
Mhm.
enough things to do. I get to travel enough. I have good enough food in my cupboards. And and I was living that life of like, it's good enough.
Mm.
But there was a part of me and I it became clear yesterday. It was the part of me that would come out kind of like lashing. It was the bitchy part of me. It was the part of me that would fight with partners. It was the part of me that was really short and snappy with my friends. It was the part of me that was like on edge inside that I was hiding. She was like, there is more. Like,
Yeah.
there's
There's
more.
more than enough.
There's more than enough. And so it's yeah, my desire is to really support women who are at that point where they're like, my life is like good enough. This is fine. They're finding a bit of resistance. They don't know why things don't feel quite right. Maybe they're snappy. Maybe they're short fused. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they're unmotivated. It's because that version of themselves that knows that there's more is trapped inside. And so I want to help that woman release that trapped version and let her live a life that's better than she could ever imagine.
Releasing the trapped version. Okay, I know there's people who are going to listen to this or watch this and be like, oh my gosh, that's me. But don't worry, we're going to move towards the end of this conversation. We're going to get Kyla to tell all the ways that you can find her, work with her, listen to her, be engaged in her world
Mhm.
so that when you're feeling that, like, I'm ready for more to reclaim it, Kyla can help you with that because that's the amazing work that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Okay, I want to ask you a couple questions now about being an aligned CEO,
Yes,
being
please.
being in it and being an aligned CEO.
Mhm.
My first question is, we do lots of different types of calls every week. And well, each week, sorry, there is a different call, not multiple calls a week, but a call each week, and they're all different.
Mhm.
Out of all the calls or the trainings, which is your favorite and why?
Oh dear. Okay. Which is my favorite? Right away, the first thought was the mindset call.
Mm,
And I say that because it's one that generally catches me off guard and surprises me because it'll come when I'm like, I'm good. Again, I clearly have a pattern. I'm like, nah, everything's good. And then
hmm
the thing comes in. And it might even be something that I don't feel like I connect with in right away. And then it takes like a minute. And it's like, oh my God.
mm,
Right. And so just yeah, having the mindset support. But then the mastermind, because I just think there's nothing like masterminding. I just really think there's, you know, my brain is only my brain.
mm,
And it's one thing to have two coaches, like then there's three brains, and two of them
hmm
are like massive and so creative. But then to be in your mastermind group and have like, I think maybe there's six or seven of us, maybe even eight in our mastermind group. That's so many brains. It's so many
mm,
eyeballs. It's so many experiences. It's so many creative ideas on what I used to. I speak about before Aligned CEO, I had like my horse racing blinders on, running my business as a personal trainer, the one and only way that I thought that I could. And
hmm
it wasn't until Aligned CEO and being in the room with many other brilliant minds that those blinders just blew off. And I realized there's just 1,001 other ways to do things.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
so
it's
true.
two. Yeah. Mindset and mastermind.
Oh, okay. I love that. And, you kind of just spoke to it a little bit, and maybe you want to elaborate on that more, or maybe it's something different for you. But, you have been in Align CEO. This is your third year.
Mhm.
When you think back to Kyla fall of 2021,
Mhm.
and where all you've taken your business, your life, like your mindset, everything over the last 3 years, like 2.5, 3 years, what to you feels like the most noticeable transformation in yourself?
Mm. There's this, I feel like I know my value in this work
Mm,
mm, way more than I did. And I feel, um, I want to say like powerful and unstoppable are the words that come to mind, where I'm like, I think before I would have assumed if I tried something and it didn't work, well, I should probably just quit everything.
right.
And now it's like, oh no, that didn't work. Okay, what can I take from that? How can I change it just a little bit? Let's try this. Let's try that. Let's try that. And I'm no longer taking, quote unquote failure as a bad thing.
Mm,
It's really, really important information and like a guide. And so with that, I no longer feel um the fear. I feel again, yeah, like really like powerful, and I can't even remember the other word I said, but unstoppable. Yeah. I'm like,
mhm,
no, this is my mission. I know that I care about this enough that
mhm.
I'm gonna keep going. I care about this enough that like I have to keep going. I must keep
Yeah.
going. Hmm.
Yeah, it really is that like, and you get to take your business seriously. You get to
Hmm.
say like this business is work that is changing lives and I'm unstoppable in my business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
what also comes up for me is I was taking my business before, or I was treating it rather like a side hustle, like a part-time
Mm,
job. Like I was an employee.
right.
And now I realize that I am not an employee. In fact, I am the founder, the
Hmm.
CEO. I am the boss. I am
Hmm.
in charge. I make the decisions and it runs because I show up also.
Yes.
It
Yes.
runs because I show up every day.
Mm. Every day.
Hmm.
Every day. So
Hmm.
good.
All day, every day.
Okay. Last question about Align CEO, and then I want to hear how people can find you and work with you. If there was somebody listening to this or watching this and they're like, yeah, I kind of am thinking about that program, but I don't know. I'm a
Mhm.
fence sitter. What would you say to a fence sitter?
Oh, I've had many messages from people. What do you think about them? I know you work with them. I'm like, just do it. 100% just do it. Just do it. Like, just do it. Prior to joining with you two, and I know you know this story, I had never invested in myself ever. I'd never taken my business seriously. I'd never taken myself seriously. And something, it was like a light bulb went off. Something happened in the spring of 2020, 2021. And I came across these two other coaches based out of Bali. They were focused on retreat leaders who had to navigate the pandemic. And I was like, I'm a retreat leader. I need to navigate the pandemic. So I
Mm,
signed up with these coaches and I pulled money out of my TFSAs. I invested more money than I ever thought I would to find out very quickly that they were not the people for me. And it was right around that time that I met you and then came into the community, which was, yeah, came into the collective and was like, oh my God, these are the people I want to be coaching with. And old me would have said, well, you've just invested this much money with these people. You better like, you know, stay the
ride it out.
course and you can't afford to do both. But there was a part of me, it was like my soul, my intuition was like, these people, these over here, over here, over here, over here.
Mhm.
And so as you started to promote the next round of what was then a different name, but Align CEO,
Mhm.
I was like, fuck it. We're going to take more money out of savings. We're going to invest here. I totally dropped the other people. They also never followed up with me. So they just let me fade away.
Wow.
And but it was the moment, it actually was the moment I invested in the other people. It was that moment where I was like, no, I get to do this for myself.
Mm,
That even taking out more of my savings to invest again in something that I theoretically just already invested in should have scared the shit out of me and should have been a no for old Kyla. It was like such a hard yes, such a full body yes. And at no point ever, 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 ever have I felt any ounce of buyer's remorse or like I shouldn't have done that. The stoke in me actually just keeps getting bigger. And
mm,
so when you invest in yourself in something that excites you, like you can't really lose. So I just think that even if you're on the fence, it excites you in some way, shape, or form because you jumped onto the fence.
mm,
And it's just a hard yes for me.
mm. I love that. I think that is like such a great reminder for people, like whether we're talking about Align CEO or anything else. Like if something excites you,
Hmm.
dig into that. Like
Hmm.
we're in a world where stuff is always flashing by our eyes and through our ears and in front of our face. And I wouldn't say that most people get excited about everything. So when you're excited about something,
Hmm.
it means something to you. It's
Hmm.
different because there's a lot going on in the world.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's great that you pointed that out.
Yeah.
Okay, back to you. You've got a podcast, you've
Hmm.
got a membership, you've got stuff going on. You host all these fun different things. Why don't you tell everybody who's listening where they can find you? What's for sale? How can they dip their toes in if they're finding you for the first time? No love, trust. Tell us all the things.
Okay. Yes, podcast is Reclaimed. And the podcast is all about women reclaiming their power. It's on Spotify and Apple. Yeah, wow, there's a lot. There's lots of goodies. The Essentials Breathwork membership is my baby. It's my pride and joy, and so that's what I'll share about right now. And I think it's July 10th, the day that this is coming out. So July 19th, I'm actually closing the registration, closing the doors to join us for an undisclosed amount of time. I don't know what that looks like, but it's the doors have been open forever, and I'm deciding to do things differently,
Mm,
following that like little bit of like excitement slash fear. So doors are closing. There's a lot of fun bonuses and incentives to join us between now and the 19th of July. And you can find all of that on my website, which is thesacredessentials.net. And you'll see a big bright pink line at the top that says the essentials, and you can just pop right in there. And you can also find me on Instagram. And maybe if you have any questions, that may be a good space to just chat and ask and see if this is the right space for you. And then in terms of some freebies, I've got two. I've got a 5-day breath journey
mm,
experience called Breathe with Me, and that's on my website as well. It's also on my Instagram. And then for the business babes, for the entrepreneurs, I also have breathwork for the busy entrepreneur. And I'll make sure that you have those links so it's easy for people. They don't have to go searching for it.
Perfect. Yes.
Mm.
So for everybody listening, once again, whether you find this on YouTube or our podcast, we'll make sure that we have all of Kyla's links in there. Something that I think really is so cool about the essentials is that because you host on Kajabi, there's an app. And so,
Mhm.
really, there's no excuse to be like, I'm too busy. Everybody's walking around with their phone. If
Mhm.
they're, a mom's in a park with her kids and she needs 5 minutes to just like listen to a meditation or breathe while sitting on the picnic table or whatever it
Mhm.
is, like that's just one example, but you have so many like ready at your fingertips practices in all
Mhm.
different lengths. And it really removes any excuse of time.
Yeah, I agree. And, summer's busy. I get it. And most of us are hopefully outside of the house playing and doing lots of things. But it
Mhm,
can also, I mean, I'm not a mama, but I know a lot of mamas and it can get kind of crazy.
mhm.
And yeah, practice 5 minutes, 5 minutes. And just to be able to open up your phone and pop open the Kajabi app, it's such a gift. I'm so grateful for that
So good.
technology piece.
Oh, so good. Okay, Kyla, I want to say thank you so much for being on here with me today and for sharing your gifts with the world and sharing it with everybody who will listen to this or come across this. We'll make sure that we've got links in there for everybody. And I so appreciate you and love having you in this community.
I appreciate you too. Thank you.
Thanks,
Love you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.